we go. And I do believe we are live, and there is just a 10-second delay, and that just let everybody know. Hello, everybody. My name's Cody with Nostalgic Nebula. Thanks for joining us here on the 26th of October. Happy last couple days of Halloween. We are doing a really fun celebration of the movie 13 Ghosts. We have the cast and crew here. We have Rod Digga, we have the composer John Frizzell, we have writer Neil Marshall Stevens, and producer Eric Olson, and I have here, say hello to everybody, my wonderful, wonderful co-host, Ivotries Littles. I'm not sure if I'm looking in the right direction.
Hello. It's okay.
You may have seen myself, Ivotries, and Raw on our panel from last summer, I do believe. It was a black horror. We had a couple of other great guests on there. You might want to check that out on our YouTube channel, Nostalgic Nebula. Anyways, folks, I guess we'll go ahead and just get this all started. I suppose it might start with you, Eric, as well as you, Neil. Probably with Eric. Eric, could you tell us, how did this particular film come to be? Was this already set in like a master plan of that you were doing over there with a Dark House?
13 Ghosts, yeah. I guess so. I was a youngin, I just started like a year or two earlier, maybe, when working for Joel Silver in Dark Castle, and they had already had House on Haunted Hill had already come out, and
film come
13 Ghosts
was this already set in
basically the one I think Joel Silver decided that was the next William Castle remake that we were going to make. So I can't remember exactly, but I can't remember how we found Neil. Could probably tell us better how we found him, but we needed ideas of how to remake it and modernize it, and then we just basically, I don't know how, I can't remember, I think we might have read a script by Neil called Deader. That's all right?
That's it. Yes, that's correct. Okay. That was like a big script of mine. Yeah, went over all over town, that everyone loved it. So
yeah, exactly. So it was one of those scripts. Yeah, so it was alwast creepy, horrifying screenplays. Everybody was talking about it, and we were the lucky ones who were like, well, let's hire that guy to write this ghost story. And and that's how we got that movie going. And then we hired Neil. I think I don't remember exactly what it was. It was probably just his brilliant idea of how to do it. I'm sure I watched that movie. I'm sure we probably did. I think I'm remembering now, we used to have videotapes of the original movie that we would hand, videotapes of 13 Ghosts. Oh God, that's crazy. We would hand them out. We'd ship them out to writers to watch. Wow. This was 1999, I guess, maybe. It's funny that So we would send videotapes out to writers and be like, what do you guys think? How would you rewrite this? And Neil came back, had a great way to do it.
So, I think it was, I got a call. I'm getting her name. Is it Jennifer Levin? Am I the
Susan? Susan Levine, actually.
Susan Levine.
So sorry. Susan Levine, yeah. Now she's Susan Downey.
Now she's Susan Downey. I know, strange fate. But she gave me a call, and I'd actually already seen 13 Ghosts because of my ill-spent youth. And she asked me to pitch on it. And I actually came back with a pitch, which was completely different in every respect from what we ultimately did. I had this idea that the evil guy, the ghost hunter, actually, the way he collected ghosts was to collect pieces of the locations where the ghosts were. So if it's like there's a haunted room, he would disassemble the room, take it back and assemble it in his mansion. If it's a haunted lighthouse, he would disassemble the lighthouse, bring it back and assemble that. So like he had this huge mansion that consisted of all of these different pieces of other places that he had disassembled and reassembled in this huge mansion, and that was how he captured the ghost, by capturing the piece of wherever it was that the ghost was located. And so you had this enormous mansion that was like a maze consisting of all these different places that had the various locales where the ghosts were pinned.
Save that one for another.
Yeah. So I mean, so that was the basic idea, and so they flew me out first class because that's what they did way back then when they had money, and they said, "All right, pitch this idea to Joel," and Joel said, "Nah, I don't like it," and he had his own take, and Joel, as some people may or may not know, was a huge architecture fan. He owned a Frank Lloyd Wright house, lived in it, and at the time they had just redesigned the Museum of Natural History and the planetarium in New York, and the redesign of the planetarium was a gigantic glass cube, and he was in love with it. And he said, "You know what? That's what I want the house to look like. I want the house to look like a giant glass cube, and I want the guy to work in that museum." And so he's going to work in that museum. We're going to work that into the story, and the house is going to look like a big glass cube, and it's going to be like out in Long Island. So that's the story. Figure that out, and that's going to be the story. So I went back to the hotel that night, and I jerried the story together and came in the next day, and that was the story in rough outline that they ultimately bought with Horace, the whole big with Cyrus actually being alive, which comes from the original movie, and all of those basic elements were there, except he worked at the Museum of Natural History, and the wife hadn't died in that original version. And they all get up and they get trapped in this giant house. And it's like, if you ever get those little like puzzles where you have to like move the little cubes around, those little squares around to like spell something out. That was originally how I pictured this thing. That is, it consisted of these glass cubes, and when it rearranged, the cubes actually moved around. That turned out to be way too expensive to make that work. So it's just like walls shifted in various ways, but the whole thing with the cubes moving around and shifting. So you start in the bedroom on the third floor. Next thing you know, you're like down in the basement because the puzzle pieces actually shifted around. They couldn't do that. They couldn't do that. That didn't work out. For what I probably, this was also early in my career. I should know that certain things are not necessarily possible. And the other thing that they'll confirm is one of the big reasons they wanted to do 13 Ghosts is because of the stuff with the glasses. And if anyone has seen the original movie knows that there was this gimmick. They weren't actually glasses. There was this little paddle with a red strip and a blue strip, and they projected the ghosts on the screen. I think it was in red light. So you look through the red light, you can't see the ghosts. You look through the blue light, the ghosts are very clear. And so the idea is, if the ghosts are too terrifying when they show up, you look through the opposing filter, and the ghosts will disappear. That was the idea. And so when people put on their glasses to see the ghosts in the movie, you look through the proper colored filter and you can see the ghosts, or you can make them disappear by looking through the opposite colored filter. And
didn't we try to do that? Didn't we say we would do that?
Yes, that was the idea. And they told me, look, we're talking to ILM, and they've just about got this cracked. We're going to be able to tell people they can put on the glasses. They'll look through the glasses. When they put on the glasses, they can see the ghosts. When they take the glasses off, damn, those ghosts are going to disappear. And I thought, I was a little bit skeptical. I didn't express my skepticism to the extent that I actually felt skeptical about this idea, because I had a certain idea about how physics worked. And I don't think you could actually make filters work that way. But, and they showed me the test they had from ILM, and I could, when they put the glasses on, take the glasses, I could see the ghosts pretty clearly when I took the glasses off. And they said, they're working on it. They're like 90% there. They're going to be able to make the ghosts go away. And I said, okay, well, that's what they're saying. And so, like the first few drafts of this movie, I had the opening saying, you're going to be given glasses. When they put the glasses on, put your glasses on. If it gets too scary, take your glasses off, and the ghost will go away. After a few drafts, that element of the script went away. Yeah, it never worked. Yeah. Alas for that element of the story, it went away.
The characters from the 1960s version to the 2001 some were similar but way different. And where did you get the idea for the character development of each one of those? And how did Maggie come into play? Because when I was reading, she is multitude of one character, just picked from, I think it was the housekeeper, or she was the I don't know, I think she was like the housekeeper of the home, because in the 60s there's no nanny. So was Maggie kind of comprised from that?
Well, it's very interesting. You find that a lot in these funny 60s movies where the family's completely broke, but somehow they have a full-time housekeeper. Mom doesn't work. Dad's broke, but somehow they're still the housekeeper. So I have to be brutally honest. First of all, there were a bunch of changes. Another writer, there's a whole adventure where I came to almost a final polish. Director came in, wanted substantial changes, and I said, if I start doing these changes, this is like the beginning of a long development process. It's going to take a year to get from here to a finished draft. And they said, thanks, okay, do what you can. I did what I can, and then they kicked me off the project. Then, like almost a year later, my agent said, they called me and said they're looking for another writer on 13 Ghosts. And I said, and I mentioned to them that you still have, they still have a pass from you on 13 Ghosts. And I said, well, I can. And they sent me the draft. And let's just say it was very far from being a production draft, because a lot of Steve Beck, God bless him, he has a lot of ideas that are just, they're visual ideas primarily, let's say, and not really necessarily story ideas. And so his notes took the script in all sorts of different ways. And I said, if you're going to get this thing to something that's shootable, you really have to just set those notes aside. And I'll go back to my original last draft, and if you want to give me notes on that, I'll give you notes on that. And they did, and I wrote notes on that, and then I kind of left the project. And they made a bunch of changes. One of the big changes was they didn't involve, they got rid of the museum and him working in a museum, and they went back to him being a school teacher. They went back to the idea that the family was somehow broke, but somehow still could afford a nanny, which was never really quite completely clear about why that was. But great, they could get Rodiga. And the other element was they had talked to me earlier about introducing a Black character, which I thought was fine. I floated the idea of, oh God, now I'm spacing on his name. The nervous character who's introduced, who turns out to be the psychic, and God, the guy from Scooby-Doo,
Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard. Yeah. I floated the idea that would be the Black character, but for some reason, they didn't go for that idea. And in my pass, the nanny character was this kind of nutty, spacey British girl who later turns out to be in league with Cyrus. She's the bad girl. and no one's and it's like she was planted with the family, and she's been manipulating them all along and moving the people where they need to be to get caught. And then it turns out that she's in league with Cyrus. She's the sneaky character, and clearly the need to make that character into the black character, which worked fantastically, by the way, but then she couldn't serve that purpose. So they made another character who, in my version of the script, wasn't the sneaky the sneaky character in League with Cyrus. That became that character, and Rod Digga became the nanny character. And I have to give credit where credit is due, because that transformation was made by the subsequent writer and worked great, and also produced one of the great lines of the movie. It's like, "Where's the lawyer? He split?" That's just one of the maybe one of the greatest lines of the movie. Tragically, not my line.
That was James Gunn, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, I think.
It might have been. It sounds like a James Gunn line. He came in. He contributed to the dialogue.
Yeah. So.
The last second.
It sounds so natural. I thought it was improv.
Yeah. So it's a really great line. And
when Tony Shalhoub says goats, he confuses goats and ghosts. Was that yours, or that sounds like James Gunn too?
Yeah, I'm afraid it is. So, I mean, I will, and I do claim credit for all that stuff discussing the Black Zodiac. That's mine. That's stayed from my draft. So, I'll happily claim credit for that.
I just want to say, I don't remember there being any discussion of like race when it came to those characters in the script phase, maybe the casting phase, but I don't remember. You know what I mean? Like of Matthew Lillard's character, or the Maggie character, or the lawyer character. I mean, the family would all have to be obviously similar or whatever if they're biological. But I don't remember there being. Anyway, I don't know. I don't remember that.
You weren't in the room. I'm sorry.
I might not have been. I might not have been. True.
Yeah. But
so, Ra.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to say one thing. It's just such an honor to talk to you. I mean, I've talked to you before, but it's still always an honor, especially growing up with your music.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. But how did you get the part of Maggie?
So I got a memo. I was already in LA, and I got the memo maybe as I was on my way to the airport. I was being represented by Endeavor at the time, and he was like, "Hey, if you got enough time, we've got one more reading for you to do before you head home." I'm East Coast based, and I was so hungover. I was like, "Oh my God, now?" Like, I gotta go read now. So I get to the reading. It has to be like one of my worst documented readings ever, to the point where I was so hungover. These words were literally like moving off the script. Like I couldn't focus on the script. So what I ended up doing was I ended up just slamming the script down. Like, okay, I'm gonna have to improv this thing because I can't follow these sides right now. Like, I'm so sorry, I wasn't prepared for, I just wasn't ready. And Steve Beck, he loved the improv. He let me, and you know what? It's interesting that y'all mentioning, about this character being black or not, because I think somewhere I did get a memo that the nanny originally was going to be maybe someone that didn't even speak English, or maybe, I don't know if she was like a Spanish. They said it was going to be like a Spanish older woman that didn't really speak English. And the sides kind of seemed like it, like there weren't really like clear, defined lines for me. I think that's another reason why I wasn't really getting it.
It went through a lot of drafts. There were a lot of drafts.
Yeah, and I I ended up improving that reading, and I was in the middle of touring too. I remember, I don't know what state I was in. I just remember being in a hotel room, getting a call from Daryl Miller at the time, like, I don't want you to be blindsided. I'm 99.99% certain you got this might have been like a Friday night. He's like, I'm pretty certain you got the role. We'll get the official call on Monday, but I just want you to start getting mentally ready. So I'm freaking out all weekend. And Monday I got that call. And I want to say either that night or the next morning, I had to be on a plane to Vancouver. And I believe the table read was even like that Monday. And I wasn't able to make it to the table read, but I want to say as early as that Tuesday morning, no, it was lights, camera, action, go time. Like, I literally had less than a week to get home from tour, get myself together, kiss the baby goodbye, and I was off to Vancouver for 4 months.
Wow. So
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
And my first.
So, what was the first scene? What was your
My
first scene?
The first thing, okay, so here's funny. Here's the funnies, right? So the first day, I didn't do any speaking line. The first day, the first scenes we shot for the first day were the family as a whole deciding whether or not to go into the basement. So that whole day, there's just this exchange between Matthew Lillard and Tony Shalhoub to go in the basement, to not go in the basement. It's not a petting zoo. There are ghosts in the basement, Arthur. So Shannon Elizabeth and I are just we're just kind of like looking at each other, looking worried, like we're kind of doing the back and forth looking. And I didn't have anything to say. So for the entire first day, that's all I did was just stand there, going back and forth between Arthur and Matthew's character. And I was like, I think I can do this acting thing. I'm like, everything. Oh, my shit.
That's funny.
I didn't really know. I think once I pretty much, and of course, as the days went on, I got more comfortable. I had to get my acting coach out there. Like, she's literally like exercising me every day after shooting. And it wasn't until the family split up, the proverbial scary movie, when everybody's supposed to stick together. No, this is where we all split up and get killed one by one. But so we split up, and now it's just me and Matthew Lillard. And I think those scenes and mainly because now we're in this thing, and it's it's more intensive shooting, it's more emotion, it's more drama, it's scary, we're running from ghosts at this point. That was when I really started to feel like the pressure of, okay, now I have to take everything that I have learned about acting and put it down right here, right now. And Matthew, he was such a great help. He really kind of helped me, get through that, like in between scenes, and like as the sound speed, as they're getting ready to shoot, like he's in my face like, get up, get up, get up, get up. Like, and then they're like, action, and then we're in like mid, literally have to like take off running, screaming down the hallway, like as soon as action goes. But in between, the whole time, like he's getting me charged up and ready to go. So he was a blessing.
And Rod, didn't they give
like
you only
lot of fun.
a few hours to make like a song for the movie?
Oh, so again, I get a call maybe like that night from and I got the call directly from Steven, like, yeah, we need a song for the end credits. And I literally, it had to be done in like less than 20, like they needed the mixed and mastered version back in 24 hours, and that's the Mirror Mirror song you hear at the end.
That's
Well,
that's
a lot of
great.
time.
Yeah, they didn't give me a lot of time, but I mean, music is my forte. Now, I had to learn the acting. It took a minute to get into the groove of the acting, but now music. You tell me you need a titular theme song in less than 24 hours, I got you.
I remember that day we were with my music editor, we're sitting there waiting. And we're like, that's such a ridiculously short period of time to turn this around, and it was very impressive. So.
Well, that's what I do.
I have a question for Neil.
Yes.
The Ghost.
Which one?
Because all of them. When I watched the 60s version, I was like, okay, the Ghosts are completely different. What was the inspiration of the ghost? Because even the descriptions and everything about them, and when you're seeing them, when I was in the theater watching that, it was like they were terrifying. As far as like the intensity of them, the way they reappear, disappear, just show up, hit the glass, and the jackal was everything was like insane. So where was the inspiration? Where did you get it from, or who helped, or what?
No one helped. It was all me. No, I think, again, having to reconstruct. I think. Well, I knew going in that there were going to be 12 real ghosts, and the 13th ghost was actually going to be Cyrus in disguise. So he was a fake ghost. He wasn't going to be one of the real ones. And at some point in trying to figure out the various identities of the ghosts, I came across the idea of 12 ghosts and 12 signs of the zodiac. And that's what I like to call a fruitful idea, because using this kind of inverted zodiac, and then say, well, okay, so it's a black zodiac. It's the zodiac of hell's sky, and so then it gave me a framework by which I could then define what the ghosts were like. And not just that, but it's like somewhere along the line in this movie, someone's going to explain it, is going to lay out the mythology of this thing. And so you have this kind of huge zodiacal symbol in the floor of the mansion. You've got the basis for why in the first movie, I don't know that there's any particular reason why Cyrus is collecting ghosts, other than it's like that's his thing. Some people do ships and bottles. He collects ghosts. So the idea that Cyrus in turn is collecting these ghosts as part of this larger ritual that involves this hell's zodiac, and he can get them all, and then you have this so-called 13th ghost that charges it up and provides him with this enormous power. All of that made sense. And once I had the idea of the zodiac and the signs of this inverted dark zodiac to define the identity of the ghosts, then I could kind of go through the zodiac, and someone else could define the zodiac and say, these are the signs of the zodiac. And then you go through the zodiac and you can come up with all of these really sinister ideas for the ghosts that match the signs of this horrible nightmare zodiac. That was what kind of drove the definitions of the ghosts.
Did you help with because we did these things on the DVD, right? Which
I had nothing to do with it.
You didn't do those?
Yeah, that was all done by the production team, by the design team. That's all.
No, I think it was I remember because I actually recently dug them up. It's like all this, I found it on one of my files, all these, because we did these stories, right? With Who didn't someone like read them or something like on the DVD? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was F.
Yeah,
Murray Abraham.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And
But I found those scripts, but I couldn't figure out who wrote them. So somebody's probably like.
Yeah, but again, that was post-production is post me by a long shot. So, alas.
Did you listen to those and think they were totally wrong?
No, I it's all fine, but I mean, you know, it's generally my focus is much more on the world within the movie, and you know, I tend to stay away from things like the DVD extras and all, you know, the biographies and all that kind of peripheral material. I mean, it's not. I mean, if someone wanted me to do it, I suppose I'd do it, but no one has ever asked me to. So,
did Neil, did you or Eric have any say on the design of each ghost, of how they look?
Neil probably did.
Well, I mean, I only insofar as I describe them in the script, but I think, as very often happens, the designers and the director, in consultation with the designers, kind of go in their own direction. That's often how it works.
Yeah, I think as far as I would have just not given notes on that, because I would have realized I think they were all great when I read it, and then I probably would have said, well, the director is going to come up with their own thing, so I'm not, why mess with it now? See what happens later anyway.
Yeah, it's generally like the script. At a certain point, the director makes his notes, and the director consults with production designers, with makeup and with all the rest, and they come back with their own concept art and all that. You know, and kind of at a certain point, the script is in a closet somewhere, and they've kind of gone off.
Yeah, I think I have like
done their own thing. Yeah,
from when those were in process, but yeah.
Just to give them a little shout out, I believe the makeup and such was done by Kane VFX.
Kane.
Yeah, with Howard Berger and Nicotero, and I find it fun that they worked on Army of Darkness, and of course Embeth Davidtz was also in Army of Darkness as Sheila.
And they're
well, they did everything.
Yeah,
I was about to say Nicotero. I hear that name in Walking Dead.
Yeah, they're super talented. Yeah.
Well, he back then he wasn't as much of a director. I mean, still, I think he was director, but now he's does much more. But they had a company together called K&B. And I remember they were famous for their blood, because their blood was like supposedly the industry blood, the standard. They had the best viscosity in their blood apparently. So like they were very proud of their blood. I remember
as well they should be, really.
Yeah, it's an art form, blood.
Yeah. Well, you remember the opening scene where the truck comes and sprays blood everywhere.
Oh.
So
hey Ra, did you get to see all 12 ghosts, like all of them on the set?
I didn't, only the ones that I'm in scene with, and I didn't really, like, a lot of those guys were sitting in the makeup trailers. You know, it would take them hours to get all those prosthetics and those things together. So a lot of times, oftentimes, and they were uncomfortable outfits for them, I'm sure. So they, I'm saying outfits, costumes. So a lot of most of the time, they just kind of like camped out in their trailers. I think maybe once or twice I might have kind of just peeked around and saw what was going on. I'd seen they'd either be, you know, dressing up or dressing down, and even with the you know, the scenes that we were shooting, the only time that they really were called on set was if we were all in a frame together. Like if you see my face and their face at the same time is when they were there. Mm-hmm. Other than that, we're just, you know, most of the time we were just using like, you know, these eye points and you know, direction of what to look at and stuff, but it may not have necessarily been them. I think the most time was spent with the I want to say was that the jackal, whoever the ghost is I'm looking at, and I'm putting the glasses on like it's a ghost. I think that's
that was the hammer.
Yes.
No, that's not the jack, right?
Because you was like, what is he looking at? What is he looking at? And he was like, give me the glasses, let me see.
Right. I think that was the ghost that I spent the most time with on set. The jackal had the had the
Cage.
cage on his
The
head, right?
cage.
And then
Yeah.
the Juggernaut was the big killer badass. I have a question. To whom do I have to speak to get a 13 Ghost series? I am
Yes.
dying.
That was one of my questions.
I was ready to
Like,
Warner Brothers.
Well, sure isn't me. That's for sure. It would have to be. It'd have to be Warner Brothers. They're the guys who own the rights.
No,
Yeah.
it's,
okay, when you guys were writing this, well, when you were writing
Yeah.
this, Neil, and Eric, when you thought of, hey, I have this idea, and you guys are putting it together, was there ever a thought to make this a series, like even a little bit?
Well, I think back. I don't know that were there any horror series back then.
I mean, television was not at all what it is today back then. So no,
yeah.
I would say absolutely. That never would have crossed our minds to make it a
maybe
TV
not
series.
series, but maybe like Scream, like a part 2, then
Yeah, we always flirted with the idea of like a 14 ghosts, or a 15 ghosts, 16 ghosts, right? Like, but honestly, our idea was to do our sequels were like the Castle movie. So we moved on to making, or like the Vincent, we went and did like House of Wax next and Ghost Ship and those that was our sequels in a way. We did make a sequel to House on Haunted Hill. And then I think we might've made a 14, we flirted with the idea of doing a 14 ghosts, like a low budget version, like a, back then, like a straight to DVD version. But then it never came about. It never happened for some reason, but we flirted with the idea, but it would have been a movie than a TV series. Yeah.
Because I really think, excuse me, I really think if that ever was an idea, it would work now, because there's a lot of horror series out there.
Right.
But I think the trouble would be is how would the ghost appear, like the story of the origin, because you can read it on Wikipedia or whatever, but actually creating that to lead up to actually how they became to Cyrus, capturing them and kind of like where to go from there. Because I think it would be one of those, like, it would have to be really good or it's going to turn out really bad. There's not like, oh, it was okay. I mean, because there's a lot of people who are pushing for it, like, oh, why isn't there, like, I would get that all the time. And even I did 31 Days of Halloween, and I included 13 Ghosts in there, and then I would get comments, are they going to make one?
Well, I mean, I guess the real challenge is whose story would it be, and how do you extend that over 13, I guess, hour-long episodes or 45-minute long episodes? I mean, would Cyrus be the main character? Because Cyrus would be a fascinating character to make at the heart of that story, admittedly not exactly the nicest character. And would you then surround him with other supporting characters, given that his interests are purely selfish? How do you then make him kind of a character that you want to follow for however many hours or however long? And once he gets the 13 ghosts, what happens to poor Cyrus? Do you then have him go after and grab his family and try to murder them in order to achieve his ends at the end of all those episodes? I mean, you have to restructure it in a way that makes Cyrus a kind of character that you want to follow. So it has to be a fun, in many ways, a very different kind of story that makes Cyrus someone that you, even if he's kind of a son of a bitch sort of character, a character that you nevertheless want to root for in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just talking out of my.
I'll tell you what.
I don't know how you do that.
I've got it. I've got the idea.
Oh,
yes.
I think each episode should be each individual ghost and how that ghost died. And now it could be done one of two ways. You can save the really heavy stuff where Cyrus comes in the fold, and you could either tease that for a season 2, Or you can make that the finale of season 1, like where Cyrus comes in, and I don't know, that can be like the hour and a half long finale episode. But I think there's enough content where each with each ghost having its own story, like what kind of when because if these ghosts are supposed to be tormented souls. So I think there's enough there to give each ghost like their own life and shit going on in their life, and then maybe somewhere around the 45-minute mark they die, or how they died, or
And-
you can, I guess you can stretch it however long you need to.
And then at the end they get caught. So essentially the capturing of the ghost is a kind of wraparound story, and the main story is a kind of anthology of the life and death of the ghost.
Yep.
And I tell you, I would love to see Matthew Lillard on screen again with F. Murray Abraham. And I know they only had such a short time, in that first opening scene together, but they played off so well off of each other, and I'd love to see how they came to be in league with each other, and how Matthew Lillard's character, had to join this evil man on his crusade to steal some ghosts.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's just a very scary script to make, because you have to, like Ross said, you have all these characters. You can make each episode about each one, but I believe all of them would have to have so much depth. I mean, it would be so much.
If you really, if you really want to get funky and deep, while that's going on, every so often you can cut to what's going on in Arthur's family. What is Maggie doing in a world that she ends up having to live with this crazy family, Catholic ghost? I mean, there's all kind of things. I guess every so often you can just flash to different people, and slowly but surely everybody is going to end up together in this space. I mean,
Hey, yeah, no, that actually works, because eventually they have to capture Arthur's wife, so they can be cutting between you guys until that last ghost that Cyrus has to get Arthur's wife.
Yeah, what was going on with Jean? That's the wife, right? Yeah, how did that fire start? Like, there could be something crazy with the fire. The little boy was playing with matches and stuff. We don't who knew the little boy, and that's why the ghost was connecting to her in the movie the whole time, connecting with him. So I mean, we can have fun with this thing.
I'm with Ra.
All right, Neil, you take
Okay.
notes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll pitch,
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
go pitch, Warner
Just waiting for them to come to us for that. Yeah.
And now,
I think
John,
eventually it'll happen.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give Daryl Miller a call. Like, listen, man, next time you go golfing with Joel, I'm gonna need you to tell Joel we need this series.
It's even more complicated than that, because Sony owns half the rights. I just realized, because Columbia made the original movie, so it's Columbia and Warner Brothers.
Oh.
So,
And Sony?
Oh.
yeah, we had to.
There's the problem.
Because Columbia owned the rights, so we had to make a deal with them. We made a deal with Sony, so we could do this movie, and then we had to promise them another half of another movie, and that movie turned out to be Gothica. So Warner Brothers and Sony did both 13 Ghosts and Gothica as in an epic deal.
God, for the original 13 Ghosts of all things, my gosh.
Well, we were committed to doing the William Castle. That was our. But then we deviated pretty quickly. But that was our original plan.
They could have done the Tingler. That was a good movie too.
We had Guillermo del Toro. Went to Guillermo. He was interested. We were talking to him. We were talking to a lot of people about the Tingler, and it never came to be.
Was it a rights issue?
No, just how do you do it? We never found the right way to do it. And then other movies, their scripts came in, and they were better, and we never quite figured out the right way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of those things, they're kind of good in their own way, but it's like, what do you do with them? Where do you go with them? It's always a problem.
I mean, the Tingler was the concept there was that there was like an animal, like a beast inside every single human being's skeleton, right? That causes you to shiver, and then if you scare someone enough, it'll come out. And we couldn't figure out a way to make. Then we had a lot of different takes of like how to like it's an alien, like what is it, like what, you know what I mean? And but we never found the right take that wasn't goofy, unfortunately, that would hold up.
Yeah, maybe the solution is to just let it be goofy, but I don't know.
That might have been. By the way, that wasn't really RMO, but yeah, that probably would have been the way. That you're probably right. Where were you then? Oh man.
Yeah.
So, John, the music composition in this film, what was the process of that, especially with each ghost in the family and each dynamics? Like, how did you comprise it together?
I mean, I think I wanted to come out and try to have 13 ideas, but it was too complicated. There was no way to ever really get that. So really had to focus on a few of the key ghosts to give their thematic idea. And then Jackal had this just crazy. I'm trying to think how I made it. I think I sped up some really strange cello run and then just ran it through a guitar amp, and it's just pretty strange out there. Then a lot of and then for the hammer, I actually bought a bunch of junk metal and then just hung it from the ceiling, and we used like brake drums and parts of cars and stuff like that, and got a lot of sounds that way. And then a lot of electronic, a lot of synthesizers, but then a big orchestra behind the whole thing. So kind of glue it all together that way. And just I'm for me, sitting around and trying to scare myself is always the benchmark. And I got that going on with the Jackal. I remember I was writing a couple scenes with it. And it was late. And I was in the studio, and it's like, okay, I'm a little nervous now. And I realized, okay, I'm on track. That's good. So I know when I can scare myself, I've got something going on in the score. So I'm really happy it came out the way it did. And fun score. I like hearing it now. So
yeah. It's a great score. I love the song, the scores that are melodic like yours. Especially that opening scene. With the Juggernaut, that's great music. That's getting your heart pumping, and you're really feeling in that moment. How did you decide at the beginning of the process, like the way you, as you said, where you're going to use synthesizers and where you're going to use the full orchestra?
I don't know that I had like a certain strategy with that, but I remember, Eric, I think we probably talked about this with Joel too. It was really important to create a lot of empathy, and you really had to really like the family, and you had to really like the whole team that was going into this situation with the tragedy that had occurred and everything. And so I write
that was all created in post, the opening credits scene.
Yeah.
Which had your like beautiful music in it, and the fire and all that exposition. That was kind of this like, I tell if I'm wrong, Neil, but I'm pretty sure that was all created in post, that whole.
Yeah, it wasn't me. But I have to say it's really quite a wonderful opening. That
it's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to get to the when the trouble begins. If you're not really caring about them, then you're not going to get scared. And so that was something I talked with Joel a lot about. Is really making sure that we had enough beauty and emotion. That you had a lot of empathy and you really cared about the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first one we did?
That makes me want to go watch it right now. I'm about to go do it up right after this.
It's a real great ensemble. As a little kid watching movies, I never actually liked the little kid characters in movies. I would say, oh, great, they're pandering to me, the little kid. But the only ones I really liked were characters like John Connor from Terminator, and Bobby from this movie. Like, he was my spirit animal, the way he was all into death and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all likable characters. Except for Ben. But I think Ra.
As Abraham left something to be desired.
During that time, you didn't see a lot of Black actors live. And when I was watching that and you lived throughout the entire thing, I was like, oh wow,
I'm a
rarely see that.
legend. I'm a legend for that. Every time,
along with I think it's Taye Diggs as well. Taye Diggs, House on Haunted Hill, that came out in '99, like 2 years before that too. So it was like,
Buster survived Halloween. I think LL survived something. There's like a handful of us.
Very handful. But how did that come about? Because I think that was an interesting story.
Oh, well, originally, now I'm curious to know if this was your screenwriting, sir. Now, I was supposed to die originally.
Well, in my version of it, because Maggie was the secret bad guy,
okay,
that's why she would have died.
Well, that was still in there.
Well, that didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense with you as the character, for you to secretly be the bad guy and for you and Cyrus to be lovers. That would have been extremely odd.
Okay.
I mean,
like you said, there were drafts after. So,
but I don't know. There are many steps between my final version of the script and what came after.
I don't remember, but I do remember. I mean, I remember in the phase that, like, around when you were cast, or around when we were contemplating who we would cast for the Maggie role at the very late in the script stage. I do remember having the conversations when we were like, well, we cannot kill Maggie if Ra is Maggie. You know what I mean? Because it's just so, it was like the cliche, like, and horrible. And there was a lot of people, like, always do always talk about that.
The only black person in the Scary Movie gets killed.
I think Scary Movie, by the way, I think Scary Movie had that joke in it too. Remember? Like, had that joke. So like I feel like it was right around that time, and like, I think it was we were like, well, okay, so Maggie's got to stay alive in the end.
Well, see, I would look, in my story, I would like to think it was totally my power of persuasion, because I actually approached Steven and just asked him straight up, like, can I live? And he was like, it's funny, you should mention that, because I was just talking it over with the writers and Joel, and let me get back to you. And then, like,
let's make that the official version. I agree.
Yeah, and and I would say in probably about a week I got the script rewrite that I was living. And what's funny is I really didn't want to get killed, because I didn't want the paychecks to stop. So I was like, I need to be here
for 14 ghosts.
Look, and then they say be careful what you wish for, because everybody was wrapped home and I'm in Canada all by myself with the house blown up. I had to do all of that in stuff all by myself after everybody was gone. I'm like, oh great. that's what I get. I'm in this to the end, but I sure did ask Mr. Beck, can I live?
Wait, so you were there on set by yourself with the house blown up and finishing wow.
Yeah, that was a whole nother I want to say another 2 days of shooting. Like, they had to blow it up, and then they had to like clean it, clean set design the blow up, and then they literally went to town on me with makeup and hair standing on top of my head, and then I had to go in and shoot those scenes where I'm like walking through the rubble at the end, where the audience, it's revealed to the audience that I survived.
And
well, it was a good thing, because you were the most lovable character, besides Bobby, of course. That everybody, like, when I was in the theater, when they saw you, it was like, yeah, it's like cheers and everything.
I was really surprised that they let me improv as much as I did, because now that I have the role and I'm on set and I'm nervous, because this is my first film. I'm trying to be professional. Like, I'm literally reciting the script line for line, and Steve is just like, cut, He's like, sweetheart, I'm gonna need that energy you were giving us in the casting. I'm like, what, the drunk hungover improv? Don't know the line?
Fine. It's fine.
Okay, you asked for it, and I was able to. I would say I improv about like 50% of those lines.
Funny.
Oh wow. No wonder why they were so natural.
And,
Oh, go ahead.
well,
Go.
I was just gonna say, Ram and Eric, I suppose you both were on set. I think we should give some big credit to Sean Hargreaves and his team for making that glass mansion. I think they were saying that it was pretty much all practical with glass panels and steel girders
so
and everything.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I was trying to shoot a music video in there, but I couldn't get a crew out there fast enough, and the house needed to be destroyed in like 24 hours to finish the film. But I was so upset I couldn't get, because I would have, if I would have known in advance that I was gonna do like the title song, I could have, a real nice video out of that, but it wasn't built for me, a music video for Rottega. It had to, I had to get destroyed for the film.
I just remember visiting and they had like tape on all the glass so that no one would run into the glass walls. So we were like navigating around with like making sure we don't. I was like really afraid of like, I remember that.
How
It's beautiful.
Oh, how because when you look at the house, it like was it huge, or was there certain sets that they built? Oh, it was huge, because it seemed like it was very narrow. The way
that was one big glass house with multiple rooms made of glass with sliding things. No, what you saw was pretty much the house. I don't know if there was any CGI afterwards to make it look like it was moving more, but no, the house was the house.
Well, there was a lot of CGI in post for like the walls and stuff, but I don't remember. I know the basement wasn't part of, like, it was established a separate set. In my memory, I kind of remember that must have been a separate set because it was elevated, the main set. I don't remember how many. Was it 2 floors? Was it actually 2 floors built? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There was. Let me see. There was I believe the upstairs when Shannon is going to her bedroom and the tub. I believe that was an upstairs area. There was the ground floor. I remember the ground floor was now I'm trying to remember now. Okay, that first day when the scenes that I wasn't speaking, I feel like we were walking down some stairs, but you're right. There may not have actually been anything downstairs, because now I'm thinking about it, like the scene where I'm navigating Matthew, go left, go right. He's in there with the guy with the baseball bat. That was the ground floor too. So memory serves me correctly, I think a lot of the scenes were that ground floor, but there was definitely levels. There was definitely like a second floor.
But anyway, it was a lot. They built a lot practical. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. No, that was great.
Because it looks amazing. I watched it again just a couple of days ago, and I was just like, wow, like there was so much attention to detail downstairs when the doors open and the ghost, and it was so much attention to detail. Do you think this movie was before its time? Because like it's became like a cult classic now. Like everybody is like, oh my God, 13 Ghosts, you have to watch it now. Like, what do you guys think? Like it just like the way it was, and some of the practical effects, the ghost, and because when you watch it now, it feels like it just aged beautifully. Like it's just timeless. But at the time, do you think it was like the idea was like before, like they were just getting into special effects? And
it was interesting, I think, because I did several practical effects films around that time. I did Dante's Peak, and Alien Resurrection and 13 Ghosts. And these were sort of you're just making this big shift to digital. And it is interesting when you go back and watch these, that I think we really missed something today from a lot of these great practical effects. And they can be really exciting and watch. And I think, there's obviously great things with digital, but I do miss them. And I think that does make some of these things more classic.
And the same is true with something like the John Carpenter's The Thing, which is all practical effects. And I mean, there's an element of reality that having to do everything in practical, and the makeup's practical and the effects are practical. I think you can do fantastic things with digital effects, but you go back to some of those. I mean, even things today where it's like, that didn't really hold up. It's not,
the movies, they don't. The problem now is like they just don't make scary movies, horror movies like they used to. They're just not scary anymore. Like, I think one of the reasons why 13 Ghosts really stood the test of time, because it was genuinely a scary movie. Like, when I saw it for the first time, the screening of it, I was genuinely scared. And the fact and the way that the lawyer was split, like you've never seen up until that point, like you've never seen a split. They're like, you've seen heads fly off, like you've seen all sorts of things like that. You've never seen a death that way. And I think just the fact that me seeing it for the first time, like all put together as a full-length movie, I was genuinely scared. And I am a horror movie fanatic, but like it's probably like the only genre or the first genre of movie I watch. And 13 Ghosts was really scary. Like, it wasn't cheesy scary, it was scary. So I think that that just has a lot to do with it aging well.
Yeah, it seems to have held up. People still watch it. They still respond to it, and the business with the lawyer being, and it's like it's a death where it's like, oddly, it's like, what the hell's happened? And
you've never seen a death like that
right?
before.
And you suddenly become aware of it, and it's just sort of like, it's like, and if you watch it in the theater, which of course I did, people gasp. It's like, oh my God, what? And it's like it grows, the sudden awareness of what's happened to him, and it's almost the sense like, oh my God, he's just become aware of the fact that he's been killed, and been killed this way as the front of the body starts to ease down. It's just like, it is. Let's just say it's really effective. It's a really effective moment.
Yes, it is. I saw that movie in the theater multiple times when it first came out. Like, I was, kind of in disguise. I just wanted to gauge like audience reaction, and that scene literally had people jumping out of their chairs like, oh my God, like that was that I've never seen anything like that. That was that was a good thing. I'm like, I don't know if that's like a Dark Castle signature, but even with ghost shit with the with everybody just getting horizontally slashed, I'm like, yeah, y'all are really like badass with this slasher death.
I have a question for everybody. Why do you think that we like to be scared? Like, what is it about being scared that we want to go do it? Like, I've always wondered that, making these things, but we just do, right?
I just finished a book on horror screenwriting, so I've spent many a month investigating it. Coming out in March of this year, you can get it from Amazon. It's called A Sense of Dread. So there you go. I'm plugging my book.
All right.
But I think that we're attracted to the sharp edges of life. We are the same way that we can't help but, our tongue is drawn to the hole where the tooth used to be. We investigate we're drawn to the end of to the dark corners of the hallways and the shadows at the bottoms of staircases, and we have to, we have to figure things out. Those ambiguous, potentially dangerous corners, and movies and books and things give us the opportunity to do that investigating in a relatively safe space. We can rehearse those dark confrontations in a safe space, the same way that going on roller coasters allow us to experience danger in a hopefully safe environment. So I think that on the one hand, we want to stay safe, but on the other hand, we want the thrill of the dangerous, the thrill of the frightening. So we're drawn to it. We are made to experience fear and excitement and thrills. It's how we're made. We don't, it's like we don't just want to stay safe in our beds or comfortable in our chairs. There's something in us that leads us out into the wilderness and into the shadows. It's how we're made.
Neil, what made you want to scare people?
I think the thing that makes me want to scare people is that I myself have always wanted to be scared. I've always loved scary movies. I've seen this as far back as I can remember, watching scary movies, watching The Outer Limits and The Twilight Zone when I was a kid. So I just loved monsters. I loved scary movies. I loved the experience of watching them, and I always wanted to be part of that world. And
me too. Same thing. Yeah. I remember what the kid tearing his face off in Poltergeist. I remember I was like 10 or 12 when I saw that, and that like probably influenced a lot of my horror movies that I've made. So
yeah, John, Ra, how about you guys? Were there any big scares from movies that you loved growing up?
Ra, you first.
I'm sorry, you talking to me?
Oh yeah. Were there any horror movies, big scares or anything that?
Yeah. I think one of my favorites. I remember being a little kid and being scared to death of the Wiz when the columns when they were in the subway, I think, and the columns started coming to life. Like that was something that terrified me to death as a kid. And I would say probably as I got older, like I was always drawn to like witchcraft movies, Damien, Omen. I had this crazy fascination with all like the devil movies and stuff. I'm like, oh God, I hope this
this is for you, Damien.
But like all of that stuff was like intriguing to me. And I would say I just always loved the scare. I really like the 70s scary stuff, that the 70s, the 80s, because that I think a lot, and it wasn't even like so much special effects or anything they were doing. It was just like the scoring of those movies just made it, like the music from the Birds or those movies was just scary as hell, like more scary than sometimes even the things going on in the movie itself. It just lended to the to the moment. I got a question for you guys. How do y'all feel about like all of the nowadays remakes, like remaking Freddy Krueger and like I guess the Z generation version of all our favorite 80s and 90s scary movies? I'm hating them, every last one of them. Candyman remake, like why are we remaking Candyman? Like go get that guy. That guy was scary.
Candyman. Candyman. I love the original.
Yeah, I don't really. They don't really do anything. There's a kind of corporate slickness to all of those remakes, and I don't.
It's so lazy, right?
Yeah, and it's like, and I'll tell you something else. There are a whole bunch of horror movies these days, of independent writer directors that are making really good movies. Things like The Babadook, It Follows, Hereditary, The Lighthouse. They are just excellent original horror movies being made these days. Do we really need like a remake of Freddy or the Candyman?
Right. Exactly.
Like spend that money and make a new good horror movie. It's not like people won't go out and see it. They will.
And Hereditary was great. I just watched that too.
Just a terrifying movie.
By that, because we're talking about a movie that was a remake, obviously, 13 Ghosts. Do you think that, like, because 13 Ghosts was more of a B movie, and the opportunity to remake it was a chance to do something bigger and better, versus like a classic like Nightmare on Elm Street or Candyman?
Well,
is that where the difference lies?
Well, I mean, the point is I am not someone who says you can never remake a movie, because John Carpenter's The Thing was a remake, and the original, by the way, is a fantastic movie. But John Carpenter came in, went back to the original material, and made essentially a completely new and different movie. And so you can look at it and say there's a reason why he remade that movie, because he was remaking it, really making a completely new version of that story. Right. And even something like The Maltese Falcon, which we go back and we think of like the original movie, was made twice before, but no one even thinks of those earlier movies, because the classic version, the third bite at that apple, is the one that everyone remembers. I mean, presumably those of us who watch and love classic movies. So I don't oppose the idea of remaking stories or remaking movies if you've got a reason for it. Do I think
you got to make it better, or comparable,
or different,
or find some reason to do it? Is there really a reason for the third remake of The Thing?
Right.
If it's done well, though, I mean, I'm always you never know when you're going to knock it out of the park, and sometimes everything just aligns, and you can get something to really cook. Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not someone who says that there's never a reason to do a remake, but if you're going to do it, it's like we're going to remake Psycho shot for shot in color with a less interesting cast. That's a great idea. Is it really? Is it?
Right. It has to be. It at least has to be comparable to the original. Like Psycho, that's another one of those movies where it's not a lot of tricks. It's just the music is making, like the score is, contributing to half of that terror. I mean, if they were to remake something like that, it's like you gotta get. You gotta get somebody as intense looking as Anthony Perkins. I don't want to see some young exfoliated Psycho.
They did it. Don't you understand? They did it. They remade Psycho shot for shot in color.
Oh, I thought you were playing. Oh wow.
I'm sorry. Well, I wish I had been.
I'm so glad. It's not on my radar.
I was gonna say Vince Vaughn.
With Vince Vaughn,
and I think he's pretty exfoliated.
Vince Vaughn is
with Vince Vaughn as Norman.
No.
Yeah, that's what the world said.
See, and he's not even the right guy. They could have gave us Christian Bale. He was American Psycho. Give us somebody with that edge at least. Vince Vaughn. See, I'm mad y'all told me that. Now I'm gonna go look for it and waste 2 hours of my life.
And waste an hour and a half of your life.
The Raw Digger review. Post the Raw Digger review of Psycho.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Someone has a question. I don't know if it is relatable to any of you, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Okay. It says, how was it working with, was it Michael Spindle who played the firstborn son. How was it like working with him on set? I'm not sure, but the person who wrote that, they have the same name. So I don't know if that's the actual person, like, who...
Did anybody work with the firstborn son?
Yeah.
The little kid with the arrow in the head?
The little kid with the arrow?
That's okay if you didn't. That's okay.
I remember writing music for the scene. You know?
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
I remember writing.
Yeah.
I may have written the scene itself, but that's as far as I go.
I think he might have been standing at the end of the hall when we had to, like, you know, fake left. So I didn't really have any exchange with him. I'm sorry, Mike.
That's okay. That's a cool character too. Creepy ghost kids, you know, that always gets you.
Yeah, he didn't say much, but it was when you saw the arrow in his head, it was like, oh, that's
like
yeah. We have another audience question. What's everybody's favorite ghost of the 12 ghosts? We could start with Eric if you want.
Oh no, put me on the spot. My favorite. I have no idea. I don't know my favorite. I mean, of the 12. Okay. I don't really have one. I don't know.
Really?
You guys go first. I'm sorry. I don't know.
That's okay.
I definitely have one, but I'll go last.
Oh no.
I'll chime in. I've always.
Wait, I'm gonna say. You know what? I'm gonna say Michael's. I'm gonna say the firstborn ghost. The firstborn son. Mikhail. That is my favorite ghost.
There we go.
I'm a Jackal fan. Jackal fan here.
Jackal. Yeah.
Jackal.
I'm going with the princess.
I like the Breaker, so Juggernaut.
Yeah.
The Juggernaut.
Yeah.
You, Cody? Do you have a favorite?
Probably a tie between the Juggernaut. That's just such a cool opening scene with him, and then the Torn Prince. He's all cool with like a Letterman jacket and a baseball bat. That's a good Halloween costume.
Oh yeah, that is a good one too. Yeah.
I had to choose the torso. That one scared the crap out of me. Just the arms, the legs are gone, the head is in the bag next to it. Okay, that's just too much. The torso.
Oh, the Jackal had like the box in his head, right?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool too. That was pretty weird.
But the Jackal would come down the hall, like come at you so fast. That's why it was really creepy. Yeah.
Very vicious indeed.
I think the sad pair of them all is I think I have it here, the Great Child and the Dire Mother. The backstory of that is just sad. It's like, it's just those two together.
Wouldn't you love this? Wouldn't you love to watch them, as living people and just how they got where they are?
Yeah.
I think this would be an awesome series.
Raw, I'm going to talk to you later. Maybe we should work together and come up with a plan to pitch. And
should I stop talking about it so somebody can hear like, yep. So for the first, what did she say? The first season?
You never
2 years
know.
From now, I'm just gonna be looking at TV like, wait a minute. I know it happens to the best of them.
At the wrap
Any
of
other
the film,
questions?
I was just gonna ask, like at the wrap of the film, maybe at like the after party or the premiere, did anybody make any cool things to give out to everybody? Like, did everybody get a pair of glasses or anything like that?
I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Oh, you weren't? Where was the premiere? I don't even remember.
Yeah. I don't remember. I mean, I had long since no longer been associated with them.
I remember the ghost.
They moved on to other writers. So
we would have invited you to the premiere. I'm sure you probably were in New York, and well, I mean, it wasn't me making the list, so I don't know. But
I don't know.
We wouldn't invite you if you were credited on the movie. Warner Brothers would invite you. I'm sure.
I think I'm kind of mixing up the Ghost Ship premiere with the 13 Ghosts. I can't remember the two premieres.
Rob, was there a premiere? Because I saw some pictures online with you, and it said a premiere, but I didn't see.
No, there definitely was a premiere. There was a Hollywood premiere. There was I'm trying to remember our rat party. I feel like Say it again.
We always have them in Westwood, in one of the theaters in Westwood. It feels like.
Yeah, that's exactly where it was. I think I have on like an American flag, like chain metal kind of top. By the way, I got so many like posts from that because it was like, it was literally like right after 9/11, and I had like an American flag chain metal tank top. That photo went all over the place. Well, back then, yeah, that was considered my viral moment. Yep, it was I want to say, is it the Westwood? What's the Fame Theater right there in
Yeah.
The one that was at the Fox Theater with the Fox thing, and then the Bruin is next door, I think. Across the street.
I remember it was something. So it may have been Westwood.
At the premiere, did they have any of the ghosts? Someone dressed up as the ghost?
No,
that would be cool.
No one
That would
came
be
as
really
a character. No, everybody came as their fabulous self to work the carpet. Well, there was a screening. That I'm not sure if that was a premiere or the screening. That may have been the screening. I know there was a premiere. I know there was a screening. I'm trying to think of like our rap party. I feel like we did some stuff after the fact, but it wasn't really like we didn't really have like a rap party. They just what they did do towards like the end of shooting, I guess, once they decided that nothing else would be needed for the movie, they just had like a big old garage sale / auction off for all of the wardrobe and everything at the end.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I'm like,
there's
I don't
like
want
one
these.
person who has like they've bought like all of the ghost costumes and had them professionally refurbished. It's pretty amazing.
I have a pair of those.
Wow.
I have a pair of the
Oh,
original
cool.
ghost glasses.
Oh.
So, yeah, I have that. And I also have a whole bunch of. I said this on the last thing when we got I got a whole bunch of the dollar, because you know how when the lawyer was cut in half, he had like money in his briefcase, I think, and a lot of that money got cut in half as well. And they would like, so I have like bound stacks of fake $100 bills that are cut in half. Like, for some reason.
How about my boots for high heels? And I was trying to be cute, like, okay, we're gonna wear some heels in the movie, and now I gotta wear them for 8 to 10 hours a day for 4 months. I would say like 2 months in, I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, do I have to put these shoes back on? Yeah, bitch, it's called continuity.
That's
So lesson learned.
Any other questions, Cody? Or
yeah, maybe one more, not entirely a 13 Ghosts, but since John and Eric are here, it's almost the 20th anniversary for Ghost Ship. How soon after 13 Ghosts did that get underway?
I think we were, as far as from my end, that wasn't my project. That was a colleague's project at the company. But I'm pretty sure we've been developing that script for a while, and we were developing it while I think that was in development when we were working on 13 Ghosts, and when it was in post-production. And at some point we had a script, and Steve Beck was in the editing room, and the editing room was literally next door to like our offices, like right there. And I remember we were like, hey Steve, what do you want to direct? And he's like, that one with a bunch of ghosts on a ship sounds cool. And we're like, here, read it. And so and I'm pretty sure he was signed on to the movie before 13 Ghosts even came out. So we had him working on that, and then we were like getting ready for that movie, and he went off to Australia and made that movie in Melbourne, I believe.
Yeah, I think I was hired on Ghost Ship before we finished 13 Ghosts as well. I think it was just kind of like I didn't mess up 13 Ghosts, so
that
or at
makes
least did my best.
Would have been like, hey, you're here, like, you should work on that too. Keep your calendar open for this.
Yeah, we just kind of kept rolling. We just
Well, you guys kept hitting balls out of the park, because those both, everyone talks about it. AMC plays them every year. And
every October, like clockwork, I get a little spike in my SAG residuals. Like, hey, now it's on HBO Max. I just saw the the announcement coming in Netflix. I'm like, oh, come on, streaming Spike.
Yeah. 13 Ghosts is on HBO, so
yeah.
It's on HBO Max now. Yep.
yeah.
No, it's cool.
Yes, may I ask what films you gentlemen are working on? What projects you guys are working on now?
Neil, why don't you?
Sorry, say again. Oh, what am I working on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing an animated feature for a producer I've worked with in the past, and I'm also teaching and just doing what I've been doing all along. So,
What's the name of your book again?
it is called A Sense of Dread: Getting Under the Skin of Horror Screenwriting. It's going to be coming out. You can pre-order it from Amazon now. It's going to be coming out in the spring. So,
Excellent.
Those of you who are interested in the subject, by all means, give it a look.
I look forward to reading that. I most certainly will.
I had a movie called The Dirt. It's on Netflix. That came out a year ago. It's about Motley Crue that I produced. That you guys can watch. Don't watch your kids. It's pretty R-rated. And then I have a horror movie that we're casting. It's not officially greenlit yet because we need to get the right cast, so I don't really say what it is, but it's amazing. It's like the first like horror script that I've liked for like 10 years. So I'm super psyched to like hopefully get that. That's not true. I don't want to say this. It's not the first horror. I made a couple horror script movies in between, but it's like in a while it's been like I think it has the potential to break out. Like it's a really good. Anyway, hopefully like next year you guys will be like, oh yeah, on the 21st anniversary of 13 Ghosts. So you guys will be Maggie.
Well, if you need a background person.
Look, I was gonna say if you need
The background.
If you need an older Maggie, Maggie is someone who's all knowing why survived the ghost house.
The Maggie, exactly. Like that'll be the Easter egg. Like no one else will know but us. Like that's the character you're playing.
Look, man, if 70-something-year-old Jamie Lee Curtis can still be fighting Michael Myers in 2021, damn it. The world needs to see Maggie.
Wait, what are you working on, Frizzell?
Well, there was a couple teenage boys back in '97 that did America. Remember what Beavis and Butthead?
Yeah.
Coming back around.
You're working on a new one?
Oh.
Is it a show? It's a show, right? It's a show?
There's details emerging.
We'll see.
Oh.
We'll see. Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. I remember isn't that why from Office Space? That's why we wanted to work with you, right?
Wait a minute. It's Office Space. Yeah, Office Space was before. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
It was before 13 Ghosts. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure. I think it was.
Yeah, it was because we did the 20th. That was 2 years ago. I remember we did the 20th anniversary of that in Austin, and that was that's an interesting. I love watching that film now. I still have my stapler right here, so
I just bought that on Amazon, so maybe you got a little bit.
Yeah. Someone said there should be a 13 Ghosts crossover with Ghost Ship. Merger.
I don't. Talk to Steve Beck. Maybe he'll have that way. Yeah.
It's a crossover event.
Well, I thought it would have been perfect for this year if somebody would have released a calendar, since you got the 12 months and then the 12 spooky ghosts.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Maybe next year, I'll get to work on that.
13 ghost calendar.
Let's do it.
Do you guys think they will ever remake 13 Ghosts?
Probably.
I was about to say at the rate Hollywood's going now, probably.
Yeah.
All the ghosts would be CGI. I'm sure of it.
Well, I say if they do it how they're doing, like Batman. There's like 2 Batman movie coming out. If somebody is going to do the other 13 Ghosts, sure, but let's also bring you guys back for a continuation or prequel. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
it's just about that time we actually went. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
I would say I've never had any of my movies be remade, so I think I'd be like proud and weird. It'd be weird but cool. Like if
That would be cool.
you know what I mean? Like a movie I produced that gets a remake. Like I don't know, be weird. I probably could. I don't know if I have one that would fit the criteria though. That was like a big box office hit that deserves to be remade. Anyway, yeah.
Well, it's been great, everybody. Thank you for sticking around for so long. I knew originally I probably told you 1 hour, but this has been super fun, and I wanted to thank you all. And Ivotries, if you wanted to say something to them all before we wrap up, but yeah, I just wanted to thank you all once again for joining us.
I was going to say thank you guys for joining us. This was an amazing conversation, and it's always, great to hear the behind the scenes of these films. It means a lot to so many people, as well as myself and Cody. You learned a lot. Sometimes there's more story behind the camera than it is on camera. So, but yeah, this was a great opportunity, and 13 Ghosts, I think it's just one of those timeless films that you can watch at any time, and it looks amazing. Everything about it, it's clear, it's just fantastic. And my favorite character is Maggie from the beginning, and not just saying it because she's sitting there, but she was just a lovable character all the way through to the end. So it's just awesome to talk to you.
and we got to stay in touch too, so we can get this thing going.
Actually, I did want to talk to you because I'm doing Shudderwary in January, where I dedicate an entire month to Shudder. So, but I actually want to talk to you.
Okay.
And before we go, I just want to say huge thanks to the fans, because the reason we're here talking about this is that you've all stayed in touch with this film and you've made it a classic. We did our best making it, but thank you for valuing this film and for making it now what it is. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yeah, and so many of us have started out as fans, and we've been fans, and we've moved from being fans to making movies that hopefully achieve the thing that we started out loving. So thanks to all of you.
And
yes, thank you so much.
That's in 20 years.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be the one taking my teeth out then.
I know every time every time this film is on, my social media just starts ping, 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 ping.
That's how great it is. It is a great film.
Should be required viewing for any horror fan out there. Required viewing.
And the beauty for me too, there's actually people every year that are just constantly introduced or reintroduced to my music. Like they forget I was a musician first, and they see a lot of, like, now the younger kids, they may not be familiar with the music. They see the movie, then they do research like, oh wow, she's a whole artist, we had no idea. So it's like every year I amass a new following of people thanks to this movie. So it's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Ra, have you ever done like the convention circuit? Like at the horror conventions?
You know what? I've gone as a fan. I'm a huge fan of Walking Dead. Like I was chasing them around all the Comic-Con, but I haven't been a part of anything like 13 Ghosts related. I wish.
All right, everybody at home, get tweeting your favorite horror conventions. Let them know you want to see the people from 13 Ghosts there. And everybody at home, if you'd like to hear a lot more fun behind-the-scenes story, John, Neil, Eric, and Ra were so kind and joined me almost 2 years ago for a 13 Ghost watch party where we basically did director's commentary watching the film, so you could just watch it in sync as you watch the movie at home. So I wanted to thank you all once again for being there. We also had Sean Hargreaves, who was the production designer, as well as Dean Eilertson, who did the props, the very cool, book and everything like that. So you'll want to check that out. Ivotries, before we go, how can people find you on the social media?
Well, they can find me. I'm Horror Movies and Beyond. I have a YouTube channel. I have a second YouTube channel called Preternatural Mysteries, where I talk about paranormal, supernatural, and the unexplained. So I do have that channel. They can find me on Twitter, H Movies Beyond, and Instagram. So I also have a TikTok. So yeah, that's me.
That's covered.
Does anybody else want to give out their social media? I don't want to put you on the spot. I know everyone has.
Oh no, for
names.
sure. You can find out any and everything there is to know about me on my website, rahdiggamusic.com, RAHDIGGA music.com. There's merch, there's news and events, everything going on with me now. My tour schedule, which is a lot these days. I also do a podcast with Laura Jamar from Brand Nubians. There's music, guest features, all kinds of stuff going on, and you can see it all on my website, rahdiggamusic.com.
You don't have to. I don't have good social media, so no. Don't.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm still working on that stuff. I'm too old for social media. So
My daughter
I'm
just
trying-
taught
trying
me
to
how
do
to
it.
pin a comment, so I feel like
I'm working on that. So
Well, alrighty. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining everybody at home. Everybody on the panel, you could go ahead and stick around, and I'll
you guys again too.
All right, I'm going to be going offline in 3, 2, 1, and